Shifting gears to Eye on Politics, today we want to talk about matters One Kenya Alliance, and they are sending mixed signals across the country. Why are they not giving us their preferred candidate? It's been being postponed day in, day out, and yesterday all of them appeared, after a very long time, the four of the four principals appeared together at a church function in Naivasha, and they said they are going to give one of their own who is going to run for the presidency. But that is now sending mixed signals, since they have actually, even in the papers, said that the reports out there in the media is that either they are not agreeing to any of the preferred invitation to join either Deputy President William Ruto or ODM leader Raila Odinga, and they say they are running their own race. So what is in the heads of One Kenya Alliance principles? That is what I want us to talk about and focus for us to understand, because they were seen or purported to be a third horse race or a third force ahead of 2022. So today I have Wakili, who is still here with us today. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
It's great to be here.
Fantastic. And of course, Daniel Orogo, who is also disappears and comes back. There you have him. He's here. Daniel, good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Absolutely.
It's a long weekend.
Was it?
It was. Arsenal fans in Manchester can tell you it's a long weekend.
I don't know why you just had to start with that.
Yeah.
I don't know why we suffered. For once, Man U were beaten 4-1. Arsenal were beaten 4-0.
You know, the tragedy is that it's reported that one of the Manchester United fans in Kampala,
yes,
has set himself and has hanged himself. So Oloo is burning schools down here in Kenya, but also other people are dying in Uganda as well. It's good that he's going,
I don't want to mention Regina's name. I don't want to mention Regina's name. Being a Manchester United fan, I've said I don't want to mention Regina's name on air. Oh, I did. Oh, yes. Somebody committed suicide in Uganda?
Yes.
Okay.
But of course, there is now the dividend of it. Oloo is now out. Yeah.
And they really prayed for it.
Yeah. And most of the fans, I think they saw it coming. It was long overdue. It was long overdue.
But that happens in football, even in management, so to speak, everywhere around the world, that if it's not working with person X, person Y, you can bring person B, then can try a lot of that. So talk of football. Back home, we are playing the political game, and that's what we want to discuss today. But before we get there, if you've not been vaccinated, no government services. Wakili, from your understanding, how about that, legally speaking?
I think I wouldn't wish to go into the politics of the vaccination and the COVAX fund that the government is normally given versus now making sure that it's a compulsory for you to get any government services vis-a-vis the number of Kenyans versus the number of vaccines that we have that have been donated so far. So I think, but it's a good move. I've always argued that vaccination is the first medical defense we have in terms of fighting corona, vis-a-vis wearing of masks and doing sanitization, and of course washing hands. So it's a good move, but of course there is more politics behind it. Probably politics that we wouldn't wish to dwell into it, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Daniel, did you have to get to that point as Kenyans, that before you get all the government services, first of all, you have to show proof?
Well, I think the pointers were that we were slowly headed towards, having a vaccine being compulsory, especially when we have you and an individual that is in contact with several people and probably working in spaces where so many people get in contact with. Here we are talking about, you know, the public health providers at the airports, you know, at the ports. So these are where, even if you're traveling, because I foresee some countries have made even compulsory that, even including UK, that once you are going to, you know, to visit, when they lifted that, you know, the advisory they had about being the hotspot, the country being the hotspot for COVID. I think one thing that they made compulsory in United Kingdom is that you have to prove and show proof that you had been vaccinated as you get into their countries. United States is also making that compulsory. But I think as Kenyans, especially for purposes of public health regulations, this is not a surprise to me, because I foresaw a situation where the government of Kenya would pronounce itself that now it's reaching a point when now you have to have a vaccination, that you've been vaccinated. There is a proof that you have to showcase that you had been vaccinated. Now, what Wakili talked about, it's a different thing. Looking at the dimension of the politics of vaccination, it's also interesting to say that Anthony Blinken was here, the U.S. Secretary of State. And one of the commitments that United States made is that they are, you know, they are having COVID vaccines, you know, being donated to 50 countries, you know, and through African CDC and through various countries' CDC, there's going to be access to, you know, to vaccination. And of course, there's not going to be a debate as to why a number of people have been vaccinated and haven't been vaccinated. So I think when we were offset, I could hear that you guys were talking about the numbers, the statistics that is coming out of Government Ministry of Health vis-a-vis, you know, the vaccines that have been provided and available so far. So I think it is quite important to, you know, also to mention that, really to give that introspection. When are we giving too much vaccine and people are not turning out to be vaccinated? Is it a matter of attitudinal? Is it a matter of, you know, the government and the Ministry of Health not doing much to reach out, to appeal to people to be vaccinated? So I think that would be a discussion for
so it doesn't have any legal implication, Wakili or David?
It doesn't have any legal connotation, but I think he has pinpointed a very important thing, and I would wish to compliment by saying that we are African, and you know, African, these were democracies much pushed. And one of the bad net effect of democracy is that you find a country like Kenya and its sisters in Africa, people tend to be anti-government and anti-authority, and people also tend to practice what I would call police intimidation. You find even when Corona was starting, when a curfew was installed, there are people who would still see them loitering around 10, 11, and when you ask them, or the police is trying to enforce a certain, the curfew regulation, they will tell you that they have freedom of movement or freedom of speech. So I think that's what you find in a place like America. You don't need to make a vaccination compulsory. In terms of the people who turn out to go and get vaccinated, and the way they know the importance of returning to their new normal. By when now vaccination was getting donated in Africa, America has already vaccinated 65 to 70% on voluntary. We discussed with you about even people registering as residents in Article 38. We find that even volunteering to go and have register so that you can make a voting and pick the leader of your choice, it's become very hard. So I think it's good for it to be enforced as a compulsory, although it doesn't have any legal backing, so that we can return to the new normal. But I think in whole, Kenyans need to change their software in terms of the way they think and the way they view different issues.
All right. So I think it's quite important that without all the government, ultimatum that was given yesterday by the CSS, it's important even for your own personal sake. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. You just have to get vaccinated for your own sake and for the rest of your family members and even friends. Okay. So now let's get into the real politics of the day. A lot happened over the weekend. We have got DP, who is actually starting his 5-day tour of the Rift Valley today through to Thursday. And ODM leader Raila Odinga was traversing better part of Western, that was in Kitale, and yesterday he was in Kakamega County. All of them trying to woo their voters and actually consolidate their voting bloc as per what they believe in, so that come next year, they might get that seat first round. But that aside, One Kenya Alliance is still in the lips of many. And in one of the newspaper here, they said that they are going through to the ballot, to the wire. So let me just ask you, Wakili, and today let's focus on One Kenya Alliance. Starting with a very simple question. Would you please tell me, if you look at the heads of all the principals, what do you think rings in their heads politically?
I think One Kenya Alliance, and I think you mentioned earlier as we were starting the conversation that they were plotting, or they wanted to be the third force. And I'll start by discussing the three options they have. They can either vie on their own, either the 5 principals,
yes, or
one principal and deputized by another principal. That's the first option they have. Another option they have is either to support either of these leading candidates, may it be the deputy president or Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. And the third option, which now the newspaper or the Daisy are exploring, yes, is them vying us together. So they can either be hunted in those three options, either separately or either together. But they'll have to look at various issues in terms of even their relevance post-2022, because we will not have politics until 2022. We'll have even politics way fast forward post-2022.
Yes.
How do you see you are relevant? Will it be relevant for you vying? And if I bring the scenario, perhaps Dr. William Ruto wins. If he wins the presidency, he'll have probably to go for 10 years. He'll have to, for him, he'll groom a younger generation, people who can really look up to him, people who he can be able to control, compared to these senior politicians in the name of Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka. The other option is when Raila Odinga now wins, Raila Odinga, either through a Mandela moment of 1 term or 2 term, he'll also be grooming, because that's the behind maneuver and strategy of grooming Senator Kipsile Gideon Moi. So he may tend to ignore the others. So they must also look at their political relevance vis-a-vis their political ego, of saying that probably they want to be in ballot. It's very easy to be in ballot, Mr. Victor. Even yourself, you qualify. I mean, you are above 35, you have all the qualification. But there's something we say in politics, a chance to win, or do have the mathematical chance. So I think they'll have to put all those things on the table before they make a decision. And on the other hand, remember there is the hand of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga in the name of Kipsile Gideon Moi, or what Senator Cleophas Malala calls the winkling, something that annoyed Gideon Moi and made the abortion of Saturday meeting. So I think they will have to look at those factors before they make a decision.
Okay. Daniel. Let's just read their heads, first of all, before we get into the, to the nitty-gritties of One Kenya Alliance. What do you think is in the heads of these politicians?
Well, I think we have deliberated on this for some time.
Yes.
And I gave you a pointer long time ago, and I told you that these principals have decided, and I was very specific about the ANC party leader when I was here, and I told you, Victor, watch and see that this guy is going to the ballot. And he has maintained that direction. So here we are talking about One Kenya Alliance as an alliance, but then you're asking about the individual mindset of the principals. Well, the ANC party leader is hell-bent that is running to the ballot. And as a leader, as a senior politician, and as a vice president, and as a finance minister, he has the qualifications to go to the ballot. Kalonzo Musyoka, another senior-most politician, also been a also been a VP, also been and has supported Raila Odinga's bid twice. Exactly. And was in the formation and in the sign of ODM before they went ODM and ODM Kenya, and has been, deputized. I mean, being the VC for Mwai Kibaki by that time. I think deputy president for Mwai Kibaki, and no, VC. Yes. Before that, then the Constitution. And we are seeing the man in Wetangula, a man who is a party leader of Ford Kenya, and a man who's seen a revolution within his own party. When you realize that the likes of Wafula Obunyinyi wanted to take over the party, and Dr. Eseli Simiyu, people were trying to push him out of the party by that time. Then come Gideon Moi, and he said, the prospect of Gideon Moi being a principal in One Kenya Alliance is to maintain the relevance of his political agenda. Yes. And KANU being in survival whims. So I think, and for him, there is another principal by the name Jirongo that I've seen, coming out, being... Are they call him as a principal right now? I don't know, because others are saying there are 4, others are saying there are 5. I don't think so. But he is there. And he is saying that he's just joined the band just recently. But he's a principal. He's joining as a principal. And he's a friend of the politician. He's asked to be treated as an equal partner in the principles. I mean, of One Kenya Alliance. Yes. So when you see the deliberation at Safari Park Hotel, he was given a platform as a principal, Victor. We need to and talking and inviting the rest and giving his deliberation as an equal partner. So when you're looking at this, I am seeing a situation where, and I'm telling you this, that One Kenya Alliance, in public, there is a discussion about them fielding one presidential candidate. Yes. But in private, there is a conflict of interest on who is going to be the running mate, who is going to be the flag bearer. So I am holding, when I'm speaking confidently, that the ANC party leader, has stated his position that he is going to be in the ballot. The Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka has called for a National Delegates Conference. Yes, on Thursday. On Thursday. And what is the outcome of ANDC is to affirm, is to cement that you are a party leader and you are going to be the presidential candidate. So this is what Gideon Moi as well has called for. KANU has got the NDC. Yeah, and Wetangula equally, Wetangula equally has been endorsed by ANDC, not only being the leader of Ford Kenya, but also a presidential candidate. So you see, all these things point towards a direction that there is a point of bargaining. And I told you in this table, Victor, that for them to have a higher political bargaining chip, you cannot have a negotiation with ODM and UDA as per now. Except you must put your house in order. Put your house in order. Okay. Move to the ballot. Have a negotiation post poll. Yeah. That would heighten up your negotiation power. Okay. Allow me to take a break, Wakili. Before we come back, we still... Today we wanted to dissect One Kenya Alliance, what's in their heads, the kind of game plan they are having right now, and what we should expect as an individual, politicians, and as One Kenya Alliance, because we have got Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, and now we have got One Kenya Alliance. And by the way, we also have other candidates as well. So let's take a break, and we come back, much more to follow. Welcome back, and you can reach us on our social media platforms or my individual, that is social media platform at Victor Oloo, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. All of them, Victor Oloo. Let's have a conversation. Okay, so Wakili, before we went on a break, we were trying to understand the heads, what is in the heads of these politicians, and what
each and every one of them stand to benefit or lose in any political move they will make. Press play.
I think there are something that my friends or my colleague had outlined as the pre-qualification for this candidate.
Yes.
What I would call the cosmetics, vis-a-vis the real things that normally play in politics, like strategy, numbers and resources in terms of for them either supporting or looking whether they can have one of their own vie.
Yeah.
Secondly is that Oka, many things are playing into two. One, like he had mentioned, one in public, and secondly in private, what I would call behind plans and maneuver. And what they are doing for now is what the tactics normally used in military, where you give precondition as you advance.
Yes.
If you follow what is happening in Ethiopia between the Tigray and Prime Minister Abiy, Tigray are making a precondition as they advance in terms of the attack.
Yeah.
So that's what these people are making. You give precondition either to William Ruto or Raila Odinga, or among your colleagues in Oka.
Yeah.
Even as you advance in terms of having NDCs confirm you as their presidential candidate. Oka, you can only discuss two people, Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka.
What about the rest?
In the interest of time, yes. You would wish to discuss Wetangula in another discussion, probably when you are discussing a gubernatorial candidate.
They're all principles in the formation.
It's true, they are all principles, but remember, in politics, animal farms normally play a very big part.
Yes.
Not all animals are equal. Remember, you mentioned that Jirongo entered Oka the other time during the Mount Kenya Foundation meeting with Oka. People like Gideon Moi, his strategy is way beyond 2022, probably 2027 and 2032. And he's planning a strategy behind President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, and probably he's grooming in the name of the Mandela movement in Raila Odinga. In when Raila Odinga, it's said that Raila Odinga will leave to a younger generation. That younger generation could be Gideon Moi. So Gideon Moi knows where his stakes are.
So right now, what I'm trying to imply is that Gideon Moi might just be placing himself for 2022 or 2037, but not 2022.
Yes, for Gideon Moi, it's clear. For him, it's not up to 2022. Yes. I've always mentioned, if you ask President Uhuru Kenyatta, you give him a blank check to write the person he would wish him to succeed. He would mention Senator Gideon Moi, purely because of what the dad did in terms of political grooming. What William Ruto did to President Uhuru Kenyatta was to assist him. The man who made Uhuru Kenyatta, who is he today, is Daniel Arap Moi, the late president. Yeah. So he would wish to, but Gideon Moi doesn't have what it takes in terms of getting to power 2022. And that's why probably they want to fix Raila purely because of his age as a one-term president, and then leave to a younger generation, that younger generation being Senator Gideon Moi. Okay. So Gideon Moi understands the way he's playing strategy. He's playing the football played by Chelsea, the long ball football, beyond 2022. But for the like of Wetangula, I think something else will be have to be negotiated for her. Less of the deputy president or the presidency slot.
All right. Daniel, one thing that we have to appreciate is that the four principals are taking their steps slowly. They don't want to put everything on the table for everyone to see. Of course, that's a political tactic, okay? You don't have to put all your cards on the table. Kuna mojo lazima weka hapo chini for your opponent. But then now, there's something we're not understanding. Something done in private, but then in public, they're speaking from the other side of the mouth. Let me ask you this. So what do you really need to understand to make them, for Mwananchi to understand that these four gentlemen are going to give one candidate come 2022? Because if you see Deputy President William Ruto, he's going all out. He's traversing. Like right now, he has got a 5-day tour of the Rift Valley. Honorable Raila Odinga has a very tight schedule. But the 4 candidates, the 4 principals, we don't see that aggressive campaign from them as a formation ready to give one candidate.
Well, let me put a caveat. That I don't know why you are omitting, say, Jirongo as a principal.
Okay.
You know, yeah, because...
allow me to bring Honorable Cyrus Jirongo.
I mean, in equal measure. I mean, he's really appealing to be a principal.
Okay.
And by the fact that he's admitted into the Academy of Oka, I think we would be fair to him and say that, you know, there's something that he also brings over. That is why he was invited on board. It's also important also, like you said, there is a level of aggressive campaign that is going on, especially for the prospective presidential candidate and candidates as well. The Honorable Dr. William Ruto has been very aggressive. I mean, for years, you know, it's been here for years. I mean, he's been on the ground for years, you know, trying to popularize the UDA agenda. The Honorable, the Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, is yet to declare his bid. You know, he's just saying that on 9th of December, we are waiting so that declaration would be made as to whether he's supporting one of the Oka principles, or he's also running, because I hear my brother says that, you see, the long ball game that is being played by, you know, Gideon Moi, probably the die would be cast on him or anybody if Raila said, I am not really vying. But of course, we would get tantrums from ODM if that is the case. You'd really expect that there would be a response as to why it's not. But then come to the question that you've asked. It is also imperative to say that IEBC had given a warning for earlier campaigns. And the aggressive campaigns that we are seeing is not sitting well with IEBC. So all presidential aspirants out there who are already campaigning, you are warned that can be a case against you by IEBC, because they said that is illegal, and illegal is illegal. So then one of the things that you also realize, Victor, the elections this time, I told you that any presidential candidate is going to win one round of election. I am telling you this for a fact, and I'm repeating it again, that no one will have it one-off. And I saw a statement from William Ruto saying that they would have it one-off. No, it's not possible. Because I'll tell you why it's not possible. You know, all these gravitations that we are having, segmented political parties are going to pull fragmented voting bloc. And that is not possible to attain plus 50% in one round.
That statement by the DP is a word of assurance.
That I say, there is no surety. There is no surety by the figures and the statistics that we are seeing. No one has got enough, you know, strongholds and enough political strongholds beyond their traditional ones. I can guarantee you this. And this is why you see Raila Odinga is struggling to maintain Western Bloc and the Coast Bloc. And one of the dailies carried it out yesterday on the areas that there is political, you know, eyes on, that no presidential candidate can be assured. But that be it said and done, we are back to Oka. And this is this. I said this before. In 2013, Mudavadi managed to garner over 500,000 votes in 2013 when he was running with UDF, you know, as a party. Until after the elections, he had a post-agreement with the Jubilee Alliance by that time. It was called Jubilee Alliance, not Jubilee Party, in 2013. And they formed a working relationship by that time. In 2017, he was the chief presidential campaign for NASA principle. And the NASA flag bearer, that was Raila Odinga. And by that fact, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and his ANC had got a lot of political candidates under his party that fell into the acts of him not being the presidential candidate by the supporter in the chief campaign of NASA. And that was a misfortune for him. And I would advise him not to do that again.
Daniel,
as a presidential candidate, this is my advice, that he moved to the ballot as a leader. If this Oka thing is becoming heavy on his shoulders, I think the most important thing is to shelve the Oka, because it's not working in favor for ANC. Second, for Kalonzo Musyoka, Kalonzo has got a very, very strong battle on his backyard.
All the three governors have...
all the three governors have unanimously supported Azimio La Umoja under the leadership of Raila Odinga, and has assured and saying that when the country and the bell rings, and when they ask in whose hands are you safe, they would confidently point and say we are safe in Raila Odinga's hands.
But he can still argue
not Kalonzo Musyoka's hands.
He can still argue that he is the kingpin of Ukambani.
Kingpinship, I told you, kingpinship lost a meaning when you cannot marshalize a voting bloc and authoritatively decides the direction of your region. That is what is called a kingpin. Okay? And this is being lost in the personality of one of our friends, Kalonzo Musyoka.
Okay.
Now, we hope that NDC that is called would try as so much possible to make sure that Wiper begins a party that is a national outlook.
Okay, let me ask you, Wakili. Daniel has said that no...
I mean, I haven't talked about Wetangula, I haven't talked about Gideon, I haven't talked about Jirongo.
Exactly.
Because you asked me to talk about these principles.
You'll talk about that one. But let me ask you this, Wakili. Daniel has said that no particular candidate will get 50+1, first round, according to him. But when you look at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris during their campaigns, it was a shocker. Nobody saw that coming, the choice of a deputy president. So let me now twist the whole narrative and say that either 50+1 can be achieved by the choice of a running mate. Can that be possible?
I mean, the choice of a running mate purely will be for him or her to bring the numbers. So it will be very important. And remember, the two leading candidates, as I mentioned earlier, are looking in the mountain where probably they can have their running mate. And you remember Mother Karua mentioned the other day that running mate position is not a position you vie for. You just swim in the air waiting for someone to have mercy on you and pick you as his or her own running mate. Secondly, in a country where rigging is very prevalent as an winning strategy,
an allegation,
you can't really say that we will not be able to reach 50+1. Remember, there is one of a senior politician who worked with the Kibakian probably, and is also in the leadership of Oloo government, who mentioned that whenever someone is credible and electable, it's easy to tilt. So we can't really, not unless they are very high strategy in terms of making sure that this election is pushed to a runoff. But if the strategy will not be there to push this election into a runoff, this election will be run or be won. Even if it gets to 51+1, they will push until it gets there.
Okay.
That is very interesting. I mean, it's very interesting. Yeah. But here is the thing, because I was proceeding, and then I would make my own, interpretations about that. That was I was saying that ANDC, that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka has called upon. One of the important agenda of ANDC is always to affirm the party position, is always to install the party leadership, and is always also to make a declaration that the party leader is headed towards the ballot. All the ANDC. I mean, unless otherwise, right now, you wouldn't call an ANDC to say that we are supporting another person. That would be very ridiculous.
No, it has to be a party affair.
It has to be really a party affair.
Yeah.
That is why even Wetangula himself, his ANDC decided to say that he's going to be in the ballot as a presidential candidate. It would be mad to say that, you would support somebody at this hour. So then the persona also, Kanu itself, I mean, Kanu wouldn't, let me be fair to Kanu. There's been a lot of rebranding of that party. There's been a lot of, installation of youth leadership in the party, and that I give to them.
Brand activation.
Yeah, that activation has been very critical, and Kanu is, is having a lot of followership as we speak. But I think, like Wakili has said, the game plan might not be for 2022. Yeah. The game plan might be post-2022. And they are doing it so well because that then, they're organizing and reorganizing and shaping their alliances and appealing to prospective winning candidates. Man, we can't talk about, Wetangula, we can't talk about, Jirongo. They remain as party leaders. But let me say something that is so, still amorphous, Victor. The reason as to why the country was taken towards a repeat presidential election in 2017, it's simply because somebody might have interfered with the servers.
It was about the process.
Might have interfered with the process.
Yeah.
As we speak, one of the difficult elections to rig is the Kenyan election, because of the issues that I'm going to qualify my statement. The elections laws and the IBC Act has made it difficult to rig elections moving forward, because all presidential elections and presidential results will be announced at the constituency tallying center. And I'm telling you this, that IBC and that Bomas will only be confirming through, I don't know which Form 34A or Form 34B, that which they will confirm with what has been confirmed from the 290 constituencies.
Wakil, right?
You understand?
Yeah.
Confirm that.
Yeah.
290 constituencies. So if you want to rig an election, remember how would you want to rig it? At 290, it means you will have to rig elections at the polling station, you will have to rig election at the polling stream, and at the polling stream, if you want to rig it, you will still call people who have been voting to come back and vote again. And remember,
that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Each and every polling stream has got a maximum of 700 voters. You can't vote past that. So if I hear somebody saying that, you will rig in favor of another candidate, it's ridiculous. If that was true, then Kiambaa and Juja would be something else.
Absolutely.
So I am asking all presidential candidates that are here that go to the constituencies, including Oka that we are discussing today.
Yes.
That it is impossible for you to be appealing by waiting to be endorsed. You have to go to rallies and convince Kenyans that you can be safe pair of hands that a country can trust to vote you unanimously.
Okay. So, they've had meetings with President Kenyatta before, all of them, including Honorable Raila Odinga. But then, since then, we've never seen them having that ground activation, aggressive campaigns. Only Raila Odinga is out there having on the ground activation, pushing the Azimio la Umoja campaign slogan and everything. The campaign, basically that. So could this be a ploy, a tactic that each and every person was given and they agree that this is how it's going to be?
I think there is no ploy in politics. You must work hard and be consistent, visible and very focused. You remember in one of the interviews, William Ruto saying that the reason why they lost very gravely with President Uhuru Kenyatta in the 2002, the late President Daniel Moi had told them to wait. He'll tell them when to start campaigning. And I think Ruto learned from that mistake, and that's why probably he started early and he has been very consistent. If you check in one of the days, he did, in October, he did 135 rallies in 30 days. That's almost 3.5 rallies per day. So he did pushing things. For Oka, they had a rally on Saturday in Nakuru that aborted because of their disagreement. So even in terms of the hard work, in terms of the focus, in terms of the consistent, you have just mentioned William Ruto will be doing 5 days in Rift Valley. That will total to almost 10 to 9 rallies. He was in Molanga yesterday, barely 4 or 6 days he was in Molanga. Raila Odinga, you remember Raila Odinga jetting from Dubai and he was in Nyandarua. Are you seeing the same hard work and focus, even in the individual of the NASA principal? The only thing they are saying is that they are trying to create a third force. Can you create a third force even without...
How is that possible? That's the question, because my understanding is their kind of campaign is quite lukewarm.
You see, in politics, I'll tell you, Victor, in politics is not like prayer that you can pray in silence or you can pray in private. In politics, you must be visible. You must do a political rally, one after the other, either in creating perception or doing branding and marketing. For them, you really ask them, when do they do it? It's true, they will be number 3, but it will not be that third force. For that force, you must be very close to the second force and the first force.
So what if we get, what if Honorable Deputy President gets 50+1 first round, or Raila Odinga get 50+1 first round, and we are done with elections, what will the fate of all these candidates?
I think for Oka, that will be their political oblivion. I think for deputy president, he'll be focused in terms of grooming younger politician that he can tell things, a politician who can be very loyal to him. So even for Oka principle, they must look at this generation change. If their generation will be eliminated from politics by William Ruto, who is a younger generation, that will be the end of them and their relevance. They will not be able to raise their hand even in 2027. If Raila wins, probably Raila can have some mercy on them, being a traditional ally to them. But remember, Raila now will be having new allies in the name of the Mount Kenya and probably in the name of grooming Senator Gideon Moi. So they'll be out of the box. So I think when now the rubber will come to meet the road, they'll have to make very good decisions that will keep them way beyond fast forward 2022.
Okay.
Well, I'm getting interested to listen to Okili.
Yes.
Because
even as you answer that, allow me to also ask you this question. Then why are they taking their sweet time to mention or to name their preferred candidate? Because they keep on postponing. After every 1 week, we are going to have a meeting next week, next month, and it keeps on going on and on and on and on and on. As you answer that.
Well, listen, the prospect again of having one round win for elections, and we are not going to, you can't argue with facts and figures, Victor. It's quite difficult to argue when statistics shows otherwise. And there is just a reason as to why I said that the presidential candidates and winning will be won at the constituency level. And I'm telling you this, that look and mark what I'm saying today, that whoever will marshal a number of members of parliament, many members of parliament will have to be endorsed and will have a win as the president of this republic.
Yeah.
We are not talking about what happened in 2007. We are talking about the constitution that we are having as a country right now. Whoever will manage, because you hear one time somebody said about the tyranny of numbers. Somebody said about the supremacy of the parliament. And give it to the DP, give it to Raila Odinga, that they are doing better in terms of convincing, going back and talking to Mwananchi, and trying to have an alliance that can have maximum number of members of parliament. Just like I've told you, that these presidential elections will be announced at the constituency tallying center.
Yeah.
If you cannot find your facts right there, forget about deep state, forget about being supported by who and who. Get it right at the 290.
Okay.
And here comes the Oka principles, the dear loved Oka principles again. You cannot have always to schedule a meeting so that meeting is meant to schedule for another meeting. It can't. You must go down, and this is why I have advised, the party leader of ANC.
Yes.
Please get out of this. Oka is becoming a burden for you. This is why I've told Kalonzo Musyoka and all other principals. If having an alliance is becoming a problem for your own presidential bid, get out of the alliance. Go talk to Kenyan. Convince the Kenyans as an individual prospective candidates. But do you understand where the lukewarm is coming? And I want to tell you this.
Yes.
And Wakili also talked about it. The upper hand of the say, the succession politics that we are having. And it's not a bad thing. President Uhuru Kenyatta must make sure that the country is given to somebody who can, lead the country in the safe pair of hands. And I keep on saying this. And to him, he's interested as the father figure of a nation to hand over the country to someone who can manage the country. And he's been very categorical on how you want the country to run post him.
So we can assume that the Oka principle are alive to this
for
fact.
him, I think for him, everybody is appealing towards the support of anybody. And I tell you this, Victor, anyone, even if you were the presidential candidate, you'd want to talk to the incumbent. You'd want his blessings.
you'd want his advice. Any presidential candidate would want. It's quite difficult to ignore.
Yeah.
Because I've heard one of the, especially the leader of UDA, saying that for him, maybe he's not interested in the endorsement of the president.
All right.
But here it is. The headache is the running mate, as my friend has talked about. And this is why, for all the presidential candidates, no one would claim that if you want to get a presidential candidate, get him from Central. No, who tells you by settling for a running mate in Central would give you the majority so that you go one time? Who tells you that sitting in Western Kenya and in Coast would give you a candidate that will marshalize the numbers enough to give you one round of win? So this is the headache that they have.
My question still remains, then why are they taking their sweet time to mention or to present for Kenyans one candidate as an alliance? You will say that, campaign period is not yet, started by IEBC according to the rules and regulations, but perhaps there is no clear pointer on who is going to be the flag bearer of One Kenya Alliance. Wakili?
I think, as I mentioned, I think there is a lot of debate, either in public, and I normally say that whatever is normally brought in public by politicians, that for perception, that's what I would call a perception value and what you want the public to believe. But there's what we call private behind maneuvers and plan. And I think that's what is we normally call there's more than meat there. A lot is happening, and remember even the inner cohort of Musalia Mudavadi, majority of them are pushing Musalia Mudavadi, looking at their own personal interest. If you are vying for a certain seat, let's mention like Malala, you want to vie for a gubernatorial seat in Kakamega, he would wish to, as he campaigned for his own seat, Mudavadi is also there campaigning for a presidential seat. So there are these junior inner cohort politicians who are really pushing these senior politicians who vie for various these big seats, looking at their interests. That's why I mentioned earlier, it's good for these politicians, the principals for OCA, to evaluate themselves and take a different dimension in terms of the relevance, in terms of the political survival. And from there, I think they will be able to make decisions. Besides that, I mentioned that there is also the hand of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga in OCA in the name of Gideon Moi. And whether the tactic will work, even the delay could be also be auctioned happening from that angle. So that probably that's where they are taking their sweet time, so that they can also be sealed or be pushed to see whether they can support Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga.
Okay, so Daniel, the question again, why is it that, okay, let me put it this way. All the four principles, do they have a national appeal?
Yeah, of course, they do. I mean, like I've told you, that beginning with Kalonzo has been in government, he's served, and he can appeal and reach to every corner of this country. His party, I don't know much about his party, but I think the composition also of Wiper has been more of a national party. And we can presume that that fact gives them a national outlook. I don't know whether you mean a national outlook or you mean a national appeal, but either way, I am presuming that the principles, except for Moses Wetangula and Cyrus Jirongo, the rest, Gideon Moi has got a national, appeal and a national outlook in himself, being the leader of a party that governs for, for decades in this country. That we may say, by that virtue, the party that he leads, and his personality's appeal, probably as much as he's being the senator of Baringo, but I think also by the fact that he's a leader of a national party, that give him the prospects of striking, a national semblance. And of course, we cannot underestimate Musalia Mudavadi. But let me say that the context right now, as you say, requires that they do much more beyond their strongholds. And probably I think that is what you cleverly alluded to by your question. That is it possible that these people can appeal to people who are beyond, you know, their areas that they're coming from. Like the party leader, UDA, and like ODM, is Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. Of course, I would say that he has made efforts to go to other parts of this country. And before there's the puncture on his, you know, on his bid and the slowdown, I mean, last time, the time we were here, sometimes we were analyzing his tour in Central.
Okay.
We were analyzing his tour in different parts of the country. I haven't seen that in Kalonzo. I haven't seen that in Wetangula.
And that is why I'm asking, do they have a national appeal?
But if we wouldn't, you know, have a blanket condemnation for the principles, I would want us also, when we come next time, with your permission, to begin to analyze who then, because it's also important for us in this platform that they listen to us also as advisors and political commentators, that we also advise them that individually you might not be, you know, being in Oka might be a burden to you, but going outside as an individual might add some value on you. And it's important for you as a prospective candidate to do one or two things. And I think this is why we are serving here.
That's exactly what Honorable Raila Odinga did. When he saw that it was not working, he walked out of NASA. When NASA was, you know, come down tumbling, he said it's over and is now charting his way as an ODM candidate. Not in any alliance.
And that's why I say briefly, and we alluded to that, you know, also what really brought down to this all question, because it was going well. But the fall of BBI also had got some, you know, punch on this process. Like I told you, that the existence of Building Bridges initiative opened more spaces for dialogue and accommodation. Opened more spaces where all political party leaders and principals would have been accommodated into that vehicle. But you realize that by the faultness and by the judicial landmines, and that is why we had BBI still being discussed, and I think it's not possible to have it probably, it really made the succession politics difficult.
All right. Let me ask you this, Wakili. Now, we have got One Kenya Alliance, so to speak, they are going to go to the wire come next year. But then, should Raila Odinga or Deputy President William Ruto fail to get 50+1 as required by law, will they be able to push either of the candidates to get that mark?
I think it's depend with the number that they'll have marshaled by then, and I'll give you a case scenario with Liberia. You remember the player George Weah won the first round, but he wasn't able to get 50+1. He got 28. Then his closest competitor got 18. In the repeat, the other candidates, the 20 of them, were supported the second, who won by 58, and that's how George Weah lost. So it depends with how many votes they'll have be able to have marshaled by then, and it also depends on who they'll continue. Remember, the strategy or the winning strategy for a runoff is normally the simple majority. So if you get 1 million vis-a-vis someone who will get 900,000, will be pronounced or declared to have won. So it will depend with how many votes they will have gotten by then, and it also depends on who they'll draw their weight behind.
So it means that all of them are going, at some point, all of them are going to run as an individual. Daniel, is that what you're trying to foresee that coming? Is that what you're trying to foresee? So that Kalonzo has a vote behind him, same as all the four principals, all the five, so to speak, as you put it, all of them will have numbers behind them, so that whoever will not be able to get 50+1, but nearer to that mark, will be supported by all the candidates.
I foresee that coming, and I think Wakili has confirmed that in a runoff, you just need a simple majority, right? And I'm going to tell you that simple majority becomes a point of conversing, becomes a point of communication and having a deal. And also, I like the fact that, you know, my colleague has also said that, you know, in this delay and in this, you know, horse trading and discussion, there are hands that probably you know, we are speculating that other people are also trying to delay the process as they, you know, try to see how things are turning out and how, you know, political directions is taking place. I think I foresee a situation, and it's already started, and it's in public domain, that there was a problem in agreement in the Nakuru rally this weekend, and also confirmed that always in public there have been a point as to why, who is the senior, what is the criteria of deciding whoever will be the flag bearer of Oka. That has been a discussion for a long time. What is the measurement? Do we measure it in terms of seniority? Do you measure it in terms of having your voting block intact? Do you measure it in terms of the numbers that you have? You know, it has been like, when these principles are in this discussion, the point of contention has been, how do we settle? What is the formula of settling on the flag bearer
of One Kenya Alliance?
Of One Kenya Alliance. And I think that has been the discussion that still drags them as to who do we want to settle for as a candidate. But again, you know, since it is not settled and time is running out to declare, and also, like I told you, there had been a meeting to discuss this, and the head of state has asked them severally in a discussion in confidence to try to settle and support one person, and they've refuted that. But also, as they retreat back to their cocoons, have failed also to produce the prospective candidates. Then it all shows that these principles are going to run it alone. In their own, you know, in their own spaces, in their own, so that they would prove with what they will have and they will get who might be the senior most, because it has failed for them to agree on, you know, on the prospective presidential candidate who will carry the flag for
there are some allegations that some of the politicians are meeting, you know, some of the principals. Actually, one of the principals has been in talks with Deputy President William Ruto. What are we likely to see at the end of the day?
I think it's whatever. I think it's what we said there before in terms of the option they have. One option, we said they can decide to run as a team. Second, they can decide to support one of the two leading candidates. Third, they can decide to hunt separately. So I think option 2 has been explored. And I think there are a lot of their allies, either of Musalia Mudavadi or Kalonzo Musyoka, are also pushing for their principle to support one of these leading candidates. And it will also be very advantageous either to the person they will support and even against the person that they will not support. If Kalonzo Musyoka decides to support William Ruto, of course you'll bring some vote, but the bad net effect to Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga is that Raila Odinga will lose in what he had in 2017, 44%. So a chunk of percentage will be lost and vote, and he'll really have to work hard either through the three governors who are now very prominent in his campaign, and you see they are the one who had planned for Azimio la Umoja. So I think that's what happened, and that's what we are saying. There are a lot of private talks behind the plan and maneuver going on in terms of either them vying separately or support, and more so supporting one of these big leading candidates.
Okay, as you come to a close, your final remarks, because now we have to close this by asking you this question, Daniel. One, we have got Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. If either of them were to pick a candidate from Oka, starting with you, who that person be?
For a running mate?
Yes,
or
for a running mate from Oka, starting with Deputy President and going to Honorable Raila Odinga. As we come to a close.
Well, in order of experience, in order of seniority, in order of national appeal, the ones you're talking about, I see the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi as a front runner in Oka, and as one who either of the political presidential candidates would want to ask on board to come over to be you know, a running mate. And this is why I'll say so. The one, his demeanor in terms of political accommodation, his agenda for the country has been appealing, and he's been very, as an individual walking, you know, and this is why I say it's not because of anything, but I have seen him already taking a front runner in terms of even going in his own to different areas of this country. That means that the little that he has got, the much that he's got, he's able to add into the basket of whoever will invite him on board.
Okay.
On a second, as we were concluding, I am still asking the OCA principals to be wary about the delay. And this is my passionate appeal, that the delay is counterproductive. It is important to settle for a flag bearer. It's important to go outside there and aggressively campaign. Do not forget that also Nixon Kokubo has decided to run again as a presidential candidate. You know, everybody is now coming as a presidential candidate. So it's important to consider that.
Okay. Wakili?
Purely on
20 seconds, please.
Purely on account of numbers, I think Kalonzo Musyoka's numbers are very solid. The biggest challenge with the Musalia Mudavadi numbers is that even his own backyard, the Luhya, there are normally a lot of division. If you look at the 5 principles of OCA, already three of them are from one community. So purely on account of numbers, I would give Kalonzo Musyoka to deputize either William Ruto or Raila Odinga.
Absolutely. Okay. That brings us to a close of this discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We have just run out of time. We've been speaking to Wakili and, of course, Daniel Orogo here, who've been always gracious to grace our show every time we call on them. Today, we were just trying to dissect One Kenya Alliance and understand what's in the head of these politicians and what you should understand about each and every one of them ahead of 2022 presidential election. We are taking a break, but when we come back, there is something in studio that, okay, stick around. You don't have to go anywhere because there's something special here today. Ata mi siendi, by the way. We are taking a break, we'll be right back.